we know what is corporate tax. A tax on the profit of companies. A tax on profit of the companies is what is called the corporate tax. A tax on the profit of the companies is what is called corporate tax, which is a direct tax. It is also a direct tax, and we know the present, according to the present last month's revision, corporate tax reduced from 30% to 22%. A reduction in the tax is allowed. Corporate tax reduced from 30% to 22% as a solution for downtrend faced by the present Indian condition. Because manufacturing sector, we find there is a decline in the production. Production in the manufacturing sector is decline, and one of the reasons mentioned for the declining trend of manufacturing sector is high corporate tax. So that the corporate tax is now proposed to reduce from 30% to 22%. That is the present state of affairs, which is a direct tax. Number 2, that is wealth tax. Number 2, wealth tax. Another direct tax. Another direct tax is wealth tax. A wealth on acquired wealth. A tax on acquired wealth. What do you mean by acquired wealth? Wealth that is purchased and not inherited. On payment, if you acquire a wealth, suppose you are purchasing a landed property, on payment you are acquiring a wealth in the form of landed property, then it is also subject to a tax. And this wealth tax was actually, in other words, known as capital tax. Same thing. It is also, in other words, known as capital tax, wealth tax or capital tax, which is a direct tax, which was introduced for the first time in the year 1993. 1993 it was introduced. At that time of 1993, it was imposed only wealth acquired above 15 lakhs rupees worth. If the total expense is exceeding 15 lakhs of rupees to acquire a wealth, 1% tax. 1% tax if the wealth acquired is above 15 lakhs of rupees. Introduced in 1993. But subsequently, wealth acquired above 30 lakhs. Above 30 lakhs alone, wealth tax was subjected to. That is 15 to 30, no wealth tax. Only if the expense involved is exceeding 30 lakhs, a small 1% tax was imposed subsequently as wealth tax. And Modi government in 2015-16 dropped. Wealth tax is abolished at present. It is abolished at present by the government in 2015-16 budgetary provision. No such a wealth tax is at present existing in India after 2015-16. Number 3, estate duty. Estate duty, third. Number 3, estate duty, another direct tax. Wealth, another similar to wealth tax, another one is estate duty. This is a duty imposed on, we may say, inherited wealth. If a wealth is inherited due to the present or existing law of inheritance. On basis of the law of inheritance, if property is obtained, you have to pay what is known as inheritance tax. And that inheritance tax is also, or inheritance tax or estate duty is also a direct tax, abolished now. There is no such a estate duty at present existing. Number 4, gift tax. Number 4 is gift tax. A tax on gift was imposed very early in the year 1958. In the year 1950, a tax on gift was imposed. At that time, the donor was responsible for the payment of the gift tax. donor, the person who is donating the gift, not receiving. The person who is donating the gift is liable to pay gift tax when it was introduced in the year 1958. In 1991 budget, the incidence of a gift tax was shifted to donee instead of donor. Donee means the person who is receiving. The person who is receiving the gift is liable to pay gift tax according to 1991 budgetary provision. And the gift tax is also, which is a direct tax, now stands abolished. There is no such a gift tax at present existing. Number 5, customs duty. Customs duty is an indirect tax, not a direct tax. It is an indirect tax. Customs duty is an indirect tax. Then what do you mean by customs duty? Actually, customs duty is a duty imposed on both exportation and importation. A duty imposed on both the exportation and importation is what is known as customs duty. But we know when a custom duty is imposed on exported item from India, if a custom duty is imposed by government on the exported item from India, our foreign exchange earning will suffer, because the price of this commodity in the international market will go up. Since government is imposing a tax on the exported commodity, the price of the exported commodity from India will go up, so that foreigners will reject. Foreigners will reject our commodity, they may switch on to purchase the commodity from elsewhere. So usually customs duty on exportation rarely alone used, because it will affect our foreign exchange earnings. Whereas customs duty is common for importation of commodities. Custom duty is common for importation of commodity. Why? Because we want to reduce the importation of commodity to correct the balance of payment difficulties. Importation we have to reduce. If more import is there, our money will be flowing to the rest of the world. Indian rupee will be flowing to the rest of the world, and to stop that flow of Indian currency from India to the rest of the world, a tax on importation is imposed in the form of custom duty. So that what will happen? If a tax on importation is imposed in the form of customs duty, the import price will be increasing. Costly. It will become costly to import commodity from the rest of the world, so that importers of India will stop or reduce the importation of commodities. Thereby, we can rectify the unfavorable balance of trade position. Therefore, practically, customs duty implies a duty imposed on importation, because exportation only rarely used. If so, what is the circumstance, rare circumstance, where export duty in the form of customs duty will be imposed? Rare circumstance when export duty in the form of customs duty will be imposed. When a necessary type of commodity in the domestic country, scarce in supply in the domestic country, is exported by the private individuals to the rest of the world, to stop that exportation. To stop the exportation of such commodity, which type of commodity? Commodity which are necessary in the domestic country, and at the very same time scarce in supply in domestic country, to prohibit the exportation of the commodity from India to the rest of the world. We are imposing a customs duty in the form of export duty. That is the rare circumstance. But commonly, the customs duty means a tax on imported commodity. That is common usually. We have to prohibit that importation, and so that customs duty in the form of importation is usually used. Remember, we have introduced GST. almost all indirect taxes are clubbed അല്ലെങ്കിൽ converted, merged with the GST. One of the item which is not merged with the GST is customs duty. Customs duty is not converted as GST. Even customs duty at present, no GST, it is customs duty as such we are imposing. But remember, excess customs duty is converted and merged with GST. Excess customs duty. Excess customs duty is merged with the GST, but ordinary customs duty even today not merged with GST. While almost all indirect taxes are converted as GST, customs duty is not converted. Customs duty, petrol, no GST is applicable to petrol. Liquor, no GST is applicable. Well, all these items earlier method of VAT is prevailing. So that is what you have to remember. Customs duty is an indirect tax. Though it is an indirect tax, it is not completely merged with the GST at present, but excess customs duty is merged with GST. Ordinary customs duty is continuing as such. Next one, central excise duty. Central excise duty. Central excise duty. Central excise duty is also an indirect tax, now stands merged with the GST. Remember that. Central excise duty is an indirect tax which is now converted, merged with GST. This is a duty imposed by the central government on manufactured commodities within Indian economy. Manufactured commodity, it is a duty imposed by the central government on manufactured commodity within the Indian territory, that is called the central excise duty, which is an indirect tax now merged with GST. So much we must remember. Next one, service taxes. Service taxes is an indirect tax and it is now merged with GST, as you know. Service tax is an indirect tax, it is merged with GST at present. Service tax. You know, service tax in India was introduced for the first time in the year 94-95 budget. It was introduced for the first time in 94-95 budget as an experimental case. It is a central government tax. A tax imposed and collected, indirect tax imposed and collected by the central government, that was the service tax. At the time of introduction, only on 3 central government services were subjected to service tax, only 3, and very low rate, 5%. 5% rate was imposed for only 3 items of central services subject to the service tax when it was introduced. And the 3 sectors, central service sectors where service tax was applicable at that time was one, telephone service. BSNL telephone service was subject to this tax. General insurance products, general insurance sector service tax was introduced in the very beginning itself. And the third, stock exchange market, trading of shares and securities in the stock exchange market. Trading of shares and securities in the stock exchange market. All the 3 sectors are under central government. Under central government. So all these are indirect taxes imposed and collected by the central government by service tax, very low, 5%. But subsequently what happened was that year by year, after 94-95 budget, you see, successively year by year, number of items subjected for service tax was going on increasing. And finally, we find there were about 120 items put into service tax list. Started from 3 items. Started originally from 3 items. At the last moment, we find about 120 service items were put in the positive list of service tax. And the rate was also going on increasing. The rate was also going on increasing from 5%. From 5%, this tax was also going on increasing. Now, we know service tax is one of the most important tax merged with the what? Value added tax. So, GST is now existing for service tax. It is merged with the GST provision. Number 8, what? Value added tax. What? Number 8, value added tax. What? You may know that sales tax, we were having sales tax, and the sales tax is improved, amended and introduced instead of sales tax in 2004-5. In 2004-5 budget, the sales tax was converted as value added tax. Value added tax what? And we know sales tax is a provision of the state government. State government is responsible for the imposition of the sales tax, collection of the state tax, etc. State government is responsible. So, this is according to the state act and rules. The sales tax is imposed and collected by the state government, one of the most important source of revenue to state government. One of the most important source of revenue to the state government was the what? Which was imposed and collected by the state government. And this is a stage by stage act, stage by stage taxation and value added tax. It is a stage by stage tax, an improved version of the sales tax, a most important source of revenue to state government. According to the state act and rules, this amount was imposed and collected. Next one, central sales tax. Central sales tax, sometimes it is known as CENVAT, CENVAT, Central Government Value Added Tax. Central Government Value Added Tax, so that it is in other words known as CENVAT, 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 Central Sales Tax. And this is levied for interstate movement of commodities by the central government. Central government is imposing and collecting the tax for the interstate movement of commodities. When the commodities are transported from one state to the other in the boundary, a tax is imposed and collected by the central government, which is known as CENVAT, Central Government Value Added, or what is known as the Central Sales Tax. Then next one, state excise duty. State excise duty, we have already taken excise duty. What do you mean by excise duty? Central government indirect tax imposed on manufactured commodities within the boundaries of India is what is called the central. But this is certain commodities are left to state. Certain commodities like liquor, the complete authority is to state government. So, the state government can impose and collect tax on certain item like liquor, which is known as state excise duty. Certain items are permitted to impose and collect state government tax on manufactured items within the state boundaries like liquor, which is known as the state excise duty, which is also now merged with the GST. It is also merged with the GST. Then next one, MAT, M-A-T, M-A-T, MAT. What is MAT? Minimum alternative tax. MAT is minimum alternative tax. Minimum alternative tax. Minimum alternative to what? Minimum alternative to corporate tax. Minimum alternative tax, it is an alternative tax to the corporate tax, which is a direct tax. Now, this is direct tax. MAT is also a direct tax, it is a minimum alternative tax to the corporate tax. You know what is a corporate tax? A tax on profit earned by the company is what is called corporate tax. So, if there is a profit, corporate tax is applicable. If there is no profit is earned by the company during the financial year, no corporate tax, exempted from the corporate tax. But in the budget of 96-97. In the budget of 96-97, it was declared that even if a company is making no profit, alternative to corporate tax, MAT, minimum alternative tax, is applicable. That means even if a company is confronting with a loss, it is exempted from corporate tax, but instead it has to pay alternative to corporate tax, MAT. Minimum alternative tax is to be paid. At that time, that means 96-97, the MAT was 10%. 10% of what? There is no profit. 10% of book of account. 10% of book of account was imposed as the minimum alternative tax. Subsequently, the rate was going on increasing. Minimum alternative tax was subsequently increased, and last it was 18.5%. Minimum alternative 18.5% tax was existing as alternative to corporate tax, even if the company is running at a loss on basis of the book of account value. Minimum alternative tax is to be paid, which is a direct tax. And you know that recently, while corporate tax is reduced from 30%, while corporate tax is reduced from 30% to 22%, a corporate tax exemption was also given. Corporate tax reduction was also given to startup industries. Startup industry means an industry which is starting for the first time. To encourage such types of startup, there was a tax rate. Now from 25% it is reduced to 15%. To startup, from 30% it is reduced to 22% for ordinary cases. But to startup, it is now reduced to 15%. From 25%, which was the startup tax existing recently last month, reduced from 25% to 15% to startup beginners. Reduction is allowed. And the beginners, that means startup, is also now exempted from MAT. They are exempted from MAT. Only if profit they need pay. It is not applicable. MAT is not applicable at present to startups, beginners. Beginning enterprises, the startup enterprises, MAT is not applicable at present. Then next, surcharge. Surcharge is tax on tax. Tax on tax. Tax on tax is what is called surcharge. Tax on tax is what is called surcharge. You know, last Indian income tax structure, where we saw we have the last method on digressive tax method. So that progression initially 2 or 3 brackets, after that remaining constant. When the income is exceeding 10 lakhs, all income above 10 lakhs, 30% is the existing tax rate. But there is one alteration. That is, if the income is exceeding 50 lakhs of rupees, 50 lakhs of rupees. If the income is exceeding 50 lakhs of rupees and not exceeding 1 crore, 50 to 1 crore, 50 lakhs to 1 crore, 30% is the tax rate. As per the existing rule, 30% is the tax rate. But they have to pay additional 10% tax on tax, which is called surcharge. Now that additional 10% is to be paid on what? Is it on income? No. 30% income tax. 30% income tax, what is that amount? That amount, from that amount, additional 10% super tax. That super tax is what is known as surcharge. At present, what is a surcharge or income tax? Surcharge is what? Super tax is what? If the income is exceeding 50 lakhs of rupees, annual income is exceeding 50 lakhs of rupees and not exceeding 1 crore. Between 50 and 1 crore, 30% tax rate you have to calculate and pay, plus 10%. 10% super tax, additional tax calculated on the tax amount. Calculated on the tax amount, additional super tax is to be paid, that is called surcharge. And if the income is exceeding 1 lakh to 2 crore, 15%, surcharge is 15%. 15% surcharge is to be paid if the income is exceeding 1 crore. So, about surcharge means a tax on tax, a tax on tax. It is calculated on the tax amount and not on the income, and hence it is known as a tax on tax or super tax. A super tax is what is known as surcharge. Next, STT. STT means security transaction tax. STT, security transaction tax. You remember, surcharge is also a direct tax. Surcharge is a direct tax, and STT is also a direct tax. Because this is, STT means what? Security transaction tax. For the trading of shares and securities in the capital market. For the trading of shares and securities in the capital market, to the value of trading of shares and securities in the capital market, a small transaction tax of security known as STT. A transaction tax, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ trading tax of shares and security in the capital market known as STT. And this amount, STT, is applicable to both buyers and sellers of shares and security. Buyers as well as sellers. അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊക്കെ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റിന് വരാം. Buyers as well as the sellers are responsible for the payment of STT, a small amount for the trading of shares and securities imposed and collected by the central government, not the state government. Central government tax imposed on trading of shares and securities in the capital market is applicable to both buyers and sellers of shares and securities in the capital market. Next one, FBT, Fringe Benefit Tax, FRINGE, Fringe Benefit Tax, Fringe Benefit, FRINGE, Fringe Benefit Tax, FBT. Fringe benefits are, in other words, known as a tax on perquisites. A tax on perquisites is what is known as fringe benefit tax. For easiness and convenience, in ordinary parlor, it is known as perks. In short, it is known as perks. So, perquisites, a tax on perquisites. Perquisites are, in other words, known as fringe benefit, or what is known as perks. A tax on perks. What do you mean by perks? Perks means the earnings by an employee other than pecuniary terms. Earnings other than pecuniary terms, cash terms. You are getting salary, that is pecuniary terms, cash. Salary you are getting. Over and above the salary in pecuniary cash term, big companies usually pay perquisites, real benefits, in real terms. Big companies pay in real terms for the enjoyment or for the satisfaction and for the encouragement of employees. Especially executive employees by MNCs, multinational companies, offer fringe benefits other than salary increase. Suppose a person is hard working and he is given additional salary 10,000 rupees monthly. If additional salary for the encouragement 10,000 rupees additionally paid, it is liable to higher tax. He has to pay tax for the 10,000 rupees additionally received also. It is a burden. And sometimes with receiving that additional 10,000 rupees, he may come to a higher bracket also. He may be brought to a higher bracket. So, it may be a loss to that employee. So, to help the employee and to escape from the payment of higher income tax, usually national companies offer perquisites or fringe benefits or perks, real terms, in kind terms, they are awarded to exempt from payment of tax. In the year 2005-6, a tax was also imposed on the perquisites. We will calculate how much rupee worth of perquisites company offered to the individual. Suppose 10,000 rupees. 10,000 rupees worth of perquisites, real benefits offered to the company, that is also subject to a tax, which is known as Fringe Benefit Tax, introduced in 2005-6 budget, dropped in 2009-10 because of criticism. Because of the criticism, 2009-10, the Fringe Benefit Tax introduced in 2005-6 was dropped. Now, there is no such a Fringe Benefit Tax, which is a direct tax. Next one, fat tax, FAT, fat tax, FAT, fat tax. We know the credit for introducing fat tax goes to Kerala government. Kerala government introduced for the first time in 2015 a tax on fat contained, oil contained food materials, bakery items. Bakery item, oil contained, fat contained bakery item, a tax was imposed for the first time by Kerala government, known as fat tax. It was imposed because of the reason that among the college students and youngsters there is a habit of consumption, all time consuming the bakery items containing this heavy fat. So that even heart attack, cholesterol problem, BP problem, from young stage onwards it is found. Youngsters are also subject to these problems, health problems, cholesterol, heart attack, becoming common among the youngsters. To stop the consumption, bad consumption habit, or to minimize or to stop the bad consumption habit which are injurious to health, fat tax was introduced by Kerala government, and as it was a good example of a consumption habit controlling, some other states have also copied this fat tax in their state also. So, that is known as fat tax. Next one, Google tax, Google tax, Google tax, Google tax. Google tax is Google, therefore it is online trading. A tax imposed on online trading, a tax imposed on online trading, and it is introduced by a government of India for the first time in the world. Government of India 2016. In the year 2016, Government of India for the first time introduced online trading tax, but as an experimental case, it was not introduced for all online trading. Only advertisement income earned by the concerned network. Only advertisement income earned by the company, a tax imposed initially, and at that time it was said, if it is a success, that Google tax is a success, subsequently all the trading materials online will be subjected to the Google tax. But even now there is no such a common Google tax for all type of commodities online trading introduced by government. Even now it is only on income earned through advertisement by the Google, it is imposed as a tax. But these are all the most important tax. And in your syllabus, specifically it is given GST. So, next is GST. GST, as it is specifically given as a tax in the syllabus, we may take in little detail. That is GST, Goods and Service Tax. We know the recommendation for introducing the goods and service tax in India was done very early, 2003. 2003 by a task force commission at that time existing in India. a tax force commission existing at that time in India 2003 made a recommendation to introduce GST in India also, task force commission. The chairman of the commission was Vijay Kelkar. The chairman of the commission was Vijay Kelkar. So, Vijay Kelkar commission in the year 2003 for the first time recommended Government of India to introduce this GST in India, because GST was introduced for the first time by France in 1954, very early. It was introduced in 1954 by France, which was a grand success. It was a grand success in France, and following France, more than 150 countries of the world subsequently, more than 150 countries subsequently introduced GST as an indirect tax on sale of goods and services. Sale of goods and services, the countries one by one entered into the network of GST as a media. The very same was recommended. It was accepted by the government at that time, and so that while the budget was being presented in the parliament in 2005-06, while the budget was presenting in the parliament 2005-06, the finance minister announced that from 2010 onwards, April 1st of 2010, time is required for the modification, amendment of laws and all these things, and arrangements are very hard one. So, time gap was necessary, and so while the 2005-06 budget was being presented by the finance minister, he announced in the parliament that from 1st of April 2010 onwards, we will also introduce GST in India. That was the announcement made. And from that announcement day onwards, we find protest, a strong protest from all state governments. All the state governments protested the introduction of GST on the ground that the most important source of revenue to the state government is what? Sales tax. What or sales tax is the most important source of revenue to the state government. So, when the VAT as well as the service tax was imposed and collected by the central government. It is a central government, and this is imposed and collected by state government and the most important source to state government. When it is to integrate the service tax as well as the what is to integrate, it was expected normally that central government will collect. Central government will collect the GST and the state government will lose permanently a very good source of revenue to state government. A very good source of the state government may permanently be lost if GST is introduced in India. So, all the states protested the introduction of GST in India. Many occasions, many conferences were held in New Delhi by the central government under the leadership of the finance minister as well as the state finance ministers and the personnel of states. Several round meetings was held in New Delhi offering different terms and conditions. All the conditions were not acceptable to the state government. Every time it was rejected by the state government. The state government said that it cannot be. At that time in 2013, by that time 2013, 13th Finance Commission was on working. At that time 2013, 13th Finance Commission was working in India. Chairman of the 13th Finance Commission was Vijay Kelkar. Vijay Kelkar was the chairman of the 13th Finance Commission who recommended the introduction of GST in India. So, the central government as a last resort imposed the work to the Vijay Kelkar committee for making an amicable solution for the introduction of GST in India. So, the 13th Finance Commission also took that question and studied very detailed the effect, the possible effect, conferences and consultation with the state government they have made, and made a recommendation also. And the recommendation of the Kelkar Commission, Vijay Kelkar Commission, was that a good compensation should be given. Of course, there will be a loss. If GST is introduced, of course, there will be a loss to the state government, and so a good lump sum of compensation amount was recommended. A very high good compensation amount was recommended by the chairman Vijay Kelkar as compensation to state government for the introduction of GST. The state government, all the state government agreed that of course this is a very good lump sum amount, agreed, but that lump sum amount is once for all income. The lump sum amount will be given only once, whereas the state government is losing the chance of what? Permanently. A source of income what is permanently lost to the state government, and a temporary lump sum amount is allowed, not at all possible. They are not agreeing. They said that it is not possible. It is not possible to introduce the GST strongly, it was not. So, the last government, various other commissions were also appointed to make amicable solution. All this attempt were failure. And so, when Modi government came into power, they also said that we will introduce GST, and for that purpose they have amended the constitution. Through a constitutional amendment, 101th amendment of the constitution. 101th amendment of the constitution, an article was inserted, and the article inserted is 279A. 279A article was inserted in the constitution, 101th amendment by Modi government. And as a result of the 279A article inserted in the constitution, we find this the committee, that is council, GST council was formulated. GST council was introduced with the 279A amendment of the constitution, article amendment introduced for formation of GST council. So, remember, GST council is a constitutional body. As it is on the basis of the constitutional amendment and insertion of 279A article, you see it is a constitutional provision and legal powerful, and this is now consisting of, GST council is now consisting of a chairman, finance minister, ex officio, finance minister. What do you mean by ex officio? Ex officio means whoever may be the finance minister automatically will be the chairman, in the capacity of the chair and not in the capacity of the name. Not in the capacity of the name, but in the capacity of the chair, who sits in the chair of finance minister automatically will be the chairman of the GST council. And thus originally Jetley, at the time Jetley was the finance minister, chaired, and now it is changed because it is ex officio. Our chairman is the finance minister, and all the state government can send their representative, either the finance minister or the revenue minister. All the state have finance minister deputed as member of the GST council. And over and above the state representative, we have also in the central ministry state minister for the state revenue or finance. That state minister in the central cabinet is also a member to GST council, and the GST council being a constitutional body is powerful. And today, you know, all matters relating to the introduction of GST, introduction of an item in the list, or withdrawal of an item from the list, determination of the tax rate, all provision, all matters with regard to the GST is the responsibility and the power of GST Council, the ultimate authority, and thus we find with effect from 1/7/2017. Right. 1/7/2017 we could implement the GST in India, merging mainly service tax and many other indirect taxes. A number of other indirect taxes were also merged along with the service tax to formulate what is known as the GST. What are the other taxes we find in the merger? In the merger, we find the other taxes are centrally imposed excise duty, central government indirect tax, excise duty, now merged with the GST. About that excise duty, excess excise duty, that is also merged with the GST at present, excess excise duty, then the service tax, excess customs duty. I have already mentioned customs duty is not merged, but excess customs duty, that is merged with GST. These are all some of the taxes, indirect taxes by the central government merged to the GST. Similarly, state government what? State government indirect tax, namely what? Merged with the GST mainly. Then entertainment tax. Entertainment tax, yes, except local tax. Local government tax for entertainment is continuing, it is not GST applied. So, local taxes is also entertainment tax is included in GST. Entry tax, another indirect tax, entry tax, while the commodity is entering into the borders local market, there is a tax is imposed, that entry tax. Then luxury tax, tax on lottery, tax on betting, all such indirect taxes are now merged with GST. All are now merged with GST. All are the items merged with GST provision at present. A change or introduction or withdrawal of an item is the authority GST Council. The GST Council is responsible for the introduction of a new one or for the withdrawal of an item from the list or changing the rate, and any other decision subsequently can be taken by the GST Council on its meeting. And you may know that including 0% there are 5. There are 5 and excluding 0, 4. 4 rates are there, excluding 0. Excluding 0%, 4. What do you mean by 0%? Exemption from GST. There are certain commodities which are exempted from GST. Why they are exempted from GST? Because very essential commodities. Very essential commodity for our day-to-day consumption. If a tax is imposed, weaker section of the population cannot afford to. They cannot purchase, the price of which may go up. When a tax is imposed on the very essential commodity, definitely the price of that commodity will be going up, and the weaker section of the population may not be able to access that commodity. It will be difficult on the part of the lower section of the population. And so, some list, in the list some commodities are included with 0%. That 0% is what is known as exemption commodity. So, it is expected that with the introduction of GST, the cost of living will not rise. They are of opinion that the cost of living will not increase with the introduction of GST, because of the reason that very essential commodities which are in the consumption basket of our day-to-day consumption exempted. Those items which are day-to-day consumption items completely exempted from the GST, and so that it is expected not to rise the cost of living with the introduction of GST. Then after 0 you have 5%. Our 5% of item, though not very necessary type of commodity, they are also essential commodity, so that the rate is very low. very low rate 5% GST is imposed on the other type of essential commodity, but not a very necessary commodity which is exempted, which is having a 0%. Now 5% commodity on basis of the essentiality, certain commodities are listed, included under the 5% item. Then next one is 12%. Our 12% means may not be so necessary a commodity or very essential a commodity, but it is also a consumption commodity. Even without that commodity we can pull out. We can consume, we can lead even without such a commodity, and hence it is having 12%. Next category 18%, semi-luxury type of commodity, not a very essential commodity. If you want, we can substitute that commodity, 18%. And final 28% luxury commodity, which are not necessary at all, we can avoid. If the price is going high, with the introduction of 28% GST, definitely if it is costly, you cannot afford, you can throw out, no harm. About how many stages are there, including 0, 0, 5, 12, 18, 28. 5 stages are there, including 0, excluding 0, which are say nil, no GST, 4 stages are there. So that is how the commodities are put into different rate, different slab, according to the necessity, according to the essentiality, according to the luxury characteristic feature. The commodities are listed in a convenient manner in order to not increase the price, not to increase the price and cost of living of the people. In such a manner it is listed and categorized. Then you know there are 3 type of GSTs. Three types of GST. What are the 3 GST? We may say one is IGST. That means integrated GST. Then ESG, state share, state GST, SGST, CGST, central GST, central government share, state government share, SGST and CGST. And you know, when you purchase a commodity and when you look into the bill, GST, if it is applicable, 50% of the GST amount is SGT, state government share, 50% is central government share. For example, if 12% is a GST for a commodity, 12%, 6% is going as CGST and 6% is going as SGST, 50-50 sharing. Sharing the revenue 50-50, that is also explicitly shown in the bill. In the cash bill, it is divided and shown that 50% of 12%, 6% CGST, 6% SGST. 28% commodity, 14-14. 14% CGST and 14% SGST bifurcated, and it is shown. Then there is IGST. What is that IGST? Integrated. That means when commodities are moving from one state boundary to the other, interstate trading of commodities. In case of interstate trading of commodity, this is imposed and collected by the central government IGST. IGST, that is central government is imposing and collecting the IGST when the commodities are transported or moving from one state boundary to the other. And it is going to the central government fund, and after that it is divided. It is also divided according to the decision of the commission, the council, it may be divided. That is a method. Now, why such a GST was proposed in India? What is the reason and what is the most important objective of introducing GST, replacing the earlier service tax as well as what? Mainly service tax and what was the integrated one. Though all the other indirect tax are also merged with the GST, the most important one is VAT as well as service tax. Why such an integration was necessary? You know, one of the most important defect of the Indian economy was that the prices of commodity all over India, in different states of India, not at all uniform. There was no uniformity of commodity prices in India because the main reason was what? State government was responsible for the imposition of sales tax or VAT. But according to the state government laws on sales tax determine the tax rate, VAT rate for different commodity. Accordingly, we have in Kerala state sales tax or VAT sales tax act and rules, the tax on different commodities are fixed. Similarly, Tamil Nadu is having their own provision, their own list, their own rate differently from Kerala. All the states have their own act and rules for the imposition of the sales tax. So, that is the reason for variation in the prices of commodity in India. Since the prices of the commodity was different, there was also a tendency among the people of the border states or border line to go to other state where the tax structure is low. For example, in Trivandrum city there was such a tendency. People of Trivandrum city during this period marriage season or during the festival season, we may go to Nagarkovil, nearby, very nearby. Nagarkovil or by train you can go. Purchase commodities from there because the sales tax is very low there. Especially our essential day-to-day essential commodities are low priced in the boundary line. Since the tax rate of Tamil Nadu is lower, we may go to that area and purchase the commodity from Nagarkovil, Tamil Nadu, instead of purchasing our commodity in Trivandrum. Similarly, in case of Palakkad region, the people may go to Coimbatore and purchase a commodity. It was a trend at that time. In the border line, people may go to the nearby state where the tax is low and purchase the commodity, which may affect the domestic production also. That is another. Again, another reason for the introduction is that, you know, there is no certainty with regard to the sales or VAT rate prevailing in a state. For example, suppose I want to purchase a luxury article or a semi-luxury, suppose a TV set I want to purchase, a costly TV set I want to purchase. What tax I have to pay? I have no idea. As a consumer, I had no idea before the introduction of the GST, I had no such an idea what percentage of tax I have to pay while purchasing a TV set costing suppose some 50,000 rupees. 50,000 rupees priced TV set, what tax I have to pay? I don't know. If I am asking the question to the seller, salesman also, he cannot give a ready-made answer. He cannot also give a ready-made answer, he has to go through the ready reckoner table and he will say 30% or 20%. So much complication was there. One commodity, one rate, another commodity, another rate, multiple rate. 1,000 commodity, if there are 1,000 commodities in the market, 1,000 rate was specific. Nobody knows. Buyer completely confused. Seller, they may charge one rate and collect. There is no billing also, proper cash billing also not issued. But whether they collect the correct amount or higher amount they are collecting, we the customers have no idea. Usually the sellers were cheating the customers by sometimes collecting a higher tax because there is no billing. We are purchasing our commodity from the local shop where there is no billing system. One tax they will collect. We pay that amount and purchase the commodity. What surety that the seller remit the entire amount collected from we people to the government treasury? That was also not at all certain. It was also not at all certain. He may collect a higher percentage by way of tax, may remit only a lower amount. Since there is no so proper billing system existing in India. But we the customers were deceived, cheated by these sellers. The sellers were also cheating the government also. They were not remitting the correct amount collected from the consumers in the government treasury. So, malpractices. Different prices for the different commodities throughout India, no uniformity in the price structure, one of the reasons. So, what is the slogan of GST? One nation, one price. One nation, one price. Now you are all certain, because we have a list of commodity under 5%, a list of commodity under 12%, under 18, under 28. What are the commodities introduced? It is available. It is applicable to all the states. Whether you purchase the same commodity from Kerala or from Tamil Nadu, the same GST is applicable. Uniformity is there. That is in case, say, some cases the liquor etc., there is no such a tax is existing in the union territories. Where this law is applicable, you see, accordingly we find a common general uniform price is possible. Throughout the state, uniform price is possible. And certain commodities are exempted from GST. For example, petrol, diesel, isn't it? Not included. Why? Why it is not included? And now you see that who is deciding all these things? GST Council. Who are the members of the GST Council? State Finance Minister, all State Finance Minister members. They have decided. They have decided not to include this petrol as well as diesel in GST because they want some more revenue. They were enjoying very good revenue while what was existing, and immediately if petrol is also subject to GST, they will lose some amount. State government may confront with loss. Why? Because for 1 liter of petrol, what different types of taxes you are paying? About 48% taxes at present you are giving for 1 liter. And if it is brought under the GST, what is the highest amount? 28 petrol. If it is brought under, petrol is also brought under GST, maximum 28% alone we can impose, so that the petrol price will come down. We could purchase this petrol at a lower price. Commodity prices, production cost may decrease, transportation cost may decrease. Prices would have been very lower if petrol and diesel was also included under GST provision. It was not included because the agreement, all the finance ministers agreed to continue this VAT for petrol and other diesel minimum for 1 year now. Minimum for 1 year it should be continued as such, so that some revenue state government will get. After getting some more revenue, subsequently it can be converted. It can be merged with the GST. That was the recommendation. But here it was introduced in 2007. It is 2020. Even now it is not merged. Even now it is not merged. And if the state council, the GST council, state minister together decide, it can also be brought under the GST provision. The prices would have come to a very lower level. Prices of all the commodities could have come to a very lower level if petrol, diesel, and these are most important items with maximum linkage effect, petrol, diesel, etc. If it is also brought under the GST, definitely the prices would have come to a very lower level. Anyhow, such a wide disparity which was existing previously, we could reduce. That wide disparity is reduced, somewhat closer price system we could establish with the introduction of GST. And remember that it is a online transaction. It is an online transaction, so that there cannot be any mistakes in the calculation. No malpractice is possible. Everything is computerized, online trading is there. And so these are the provisions with regard to GST at present in India. Many changes can be there. At any time there can be a change in the rate or inclusion of a commodity, etc., depending upon the decision taken by the GST Council, which is ultimate authority. Ultimate authority with regard to the decision relating to GST. The Council is a constitutional provision. So, that is with regard to different types of GST. That is provided time. Yes. You see, we saw these various different types of taxes other than income tax. Various different types of taxes we have taken. The continuation of which we will take in the next time. That is all.